Rainwater ran down the cracked pavement of Saddar Street, mixing with the smell of roasted corn, petrol fumes, and yesterday's spilled chai. Karachi evenings were never silent, horns blared, children darted between cars, and the street vendors shouted their last bargains before night took over. Among the noise, a faint hum could be heard, not from a radio or a shop speaker, but from a little girl sitting barefoot beside a garbage bin. Her face was smudged with dirt, her clothes stitched from rags of 3 different fabrics, yet her eyes held something that didn't match her condition, a kind of glow, soft but fierce. She was humming a tune only she knew. Her name was Ruby, maybe 10 or 11 years old. Nobody really knew. Not even her. The old woman she used to call Amma had died last winter under the Clifton Bridge. After that, Ruby survived by collecting bottles and scraps, sometimes begging outside restaurants, sometimes just sleeping hungry. That evening, she sat near a tea stall, clutching her stomach as it growled louder than the buses. The man behind the stall, Akram Chacha, was kind but broke. He often gave her leftover parathas, but today he hadn't sold enough to spare any. "Ruby, go sleep beta. Kalkuch mil jayega," he said softly, wiping the counter. Ruby nodded, though her throat ached with thirst. She dragged her little sack closer, pulled her knees in, and began humming again an old lullaby Amma used to sing. Across the road, a small cafe named Cuppa Soul glowed like a jewel. It was a fancy place, fairy lights, coffee aroma, laughter from university kids. To Ruby, it was another world. Inside sat Hassan, a 27-year-old music producer, scrolling through his phone, frustrated. He had been chasing inspiration for weeks, nothing sounded right. Every melody felt fake. Every lyric empty. His manager had given him a deadline for a jingle project for a food brand, something emotional, they'd said, something that touches hearts. But he couldn't even touch his own. He stirred his cappuccino without drinking it. "Emotional," he muttered. "These clients think emotion can be manufactured." He stepped outside for a smoke, hoping the street noise might give him something, a beat, a rhythm, anything. That's when he heard it. A voice. Soft, raw, trembling, yet heartbreakingly pure. It wasn't loud, barely above the traffic's hum, but something about it cut through everything. Hassan turned his head. Across the street, beside a garbage bin, the little girl was singing, not for anyone in particular, not for attention, just to herself, as if the song was keeping her alive. Her voice carried an innocence that didn't belong in such a cruel place. He froze. The melody wasn't perfect. Her pitch wavered. But there was something in the tone, something no trained singer could fake. Hassan dropped his cigarette halfway and crossed the street without thinking. When Ruby saw him coming, she stopped singing instantly, her body tensing. Usually when men approached, it meant trouble, shouting, pushing, sometimes worse. But this man didn't look angry. He knelt down so his eyes were level with hers. "Hey," he said softly. "That song you were singing, where did you learn it?" Ruby hesitated. "Amma used to sing. She gone now." "I'm sorry," he said gently. It was beautiful. Her stomach growled again, loud enough for both to hear. She lowered her head in embarrassment. Hassan glanced at the cafe behind him, then back at her. "Are you hungry?" She nodded. Then, almost whispering, she asked, "If I sing well, will you give me food?" That single question, so innocent, so desperate, made something twist inside him. "Yes," he said immediately. "Sing for me." The rain had slowed to a drizzle. The neon lights from the cafe reflected on the wet road like liquid stars. Ruby stood up, brushed the dirt off her dress, and cleared her throat. She began to sing. At first, her voice was shy, uncertain. Then, as she closed her eyes, it grew trembling but soulful. She sang a folk lullaby in Urdu, something from old times, words about hunger, love, and mothers who promised food tomorrow. Her small hands moved with the rhythm, her eyes stayed shut as if she was in another world. People walking by slowed down. Some stopped. A rickshaw driver killed his engine. Even Akram Chacha looked up from his kettle, eyes moist. When the song ended, there was silence, the kind of silence that feels like the world is holding its breath. Then someone clapped. Then another. Within seconds, a small crowd was cheering. Ruby opened her eyes in shock, unsure what she'd done. Hassan smiled, still kneeling. You just gave everyone goosebumps. She frowned, confused. Goose? He laughed softly. Means you sang beautifully. He took her hand and led her into the cafe. The waiter hesitated, staring at the barefoot girl. Hassan's tone turned firm. Bring her whatever she wants to eat. My bill. Ruby's eyes widened at the menu. She couldn't read, but the pictures looked like miracles. She pointed to fries. Then to a sandwich. Then to ice cream. When the food arrived, she didn't wait for permission, she devoured it with both hands, the way someone eats when they haven't in days. Tears filled her eyes between bites. Hassan sat quietly, watching. He realized he hadn't felt this kind of emotion in years. When she finally slowed down, licking melted ice cream from her fingers, she looked up shyly. Uncle. I can sing another song if you want. He smiled. Not uncle. Hassan. She grinned. Hassan. You have food magic. He chuckled. You have voice magic. That night, as the cafe emptied, Hassan asked her where she lived. She pointed vaguely toward the bridge. With other kids. We sleep there. Sometimes police come, we hide. Do you go to school? She shook her head. I go to bins. Her words struck him harder than he expected. Before he could think, he said, Would you like to sing again? Tomorrow? For real, in a studio. Ruby blinked. Studio? He nodded. It's a place where we record songs. You'll wear big headphones and sing like you did today. Her eyes lit up like she'd just been told she could fly. But I have to give money? No, he said. You just sing. I'll take care of the rest. She hesitated, wary. People lie. They take kids. Bad things happen. He nodded, respecting her fear. You're right. But I promise I won't hurt you. You can bring someone with you, anyone you trust. She thought for a long moment. Akram Chacha will come. Deal, Hassan said, smiling. Tomorrow at 10. I'll come get you. When she left that night, humming again, Hassan sat in silence long after she disappeared into the rain. Something inside him felt alive again, a feeling he hadn't known since his mother died years ago. He didn't know it yet, but that one encounter was about to change not just Ruby's life, but his as well. Morning sunlight slid through the dusty air of Saddar, glinting on bottle shards and puddles that hadn't yet dried. Ruby was already awake, sitting under the bridge with her sack beside her, nervously waiting. Her little heart thumped like a drum in her chest. She had never had anyone come for her before. The other kids, pickpockets, rag collectors, barefoot wanderers like her, teased her. Studio? He'll sell you, one of the older boys laughed, showing a broken tooth. Ruby ignored them, though fear gnawed at her. She wanted to believe Hassan. Something about his eyes had felt different, not greedy, not cruel, just kind. By 9:50, she almost lost hope. But at 10:02, a small white car stopped near the bridge. The window rolled down. Ruby. Her face brightened instantly. Hassan stepped out, holding 2 paper bags, breakfast. Akram Chacha followed behind, wiping his hands on his apron. You ready? Hassan asked. Ruby nodded shyly, gripping her dirty sack. Keep that with you, he said, it's your lucky bag today. The ride to the studio felt like flying. She'd never been inside a car before. Every light, every honk, every shop window fascinated her. She pressed her nose to the glass like a child seeing the world for the first time. Hassan watched her in the rearview mirror and couldn't help smiling. When they reached the recording studio, the glass doors and clean floor seemed like another planet. The receptionist looked up, startled at the sight of Ruby's ragged clothes and bare feet, but Hassan's confident nod silenced any comment. Inside, the walls were covered with acoustic foam and photographs of famous singers. Microphones gleamed under soft lights. Ruby looked around, eyes wide. "Yagana Banti Factory High," she whispered. "Something like that," Hassan chuckled. "Come, I'll show you." He led her to the booth. "This is where singers stand. You see this?" He handed her a pair of big headphones. "You wear these, and you'll hear your own voice like magic." Ruby hesitated, then put them on. Her tiny face almost disappeared under them. "Say something," he said. "Hello," she whispered, then jumped as her own voice echoed back in her ears. "It's me?" Hassan laughed. "Yes, that's you." Akram Chacha stood outside the glass, shaking his head in disbelief. "Yar, Ito Filman Jaisa Lagta Hai." After a quick setup, Hassan gave Ruby the same lullaby she had sung the night before. "We'll record this first. No pressure, just sing like before." The music started, soft piano, a light tabla rhythm. Ruby closed her eyes. The first note came out uncertain, then steadier, fuller. She sang from somewhere deep, a place untouched by fear or hunger. Her voice cracked once, twice, but the emotion in it was too real to fix. Hassan didn't interrupt. He just stared at the monitor, at the sound waves dancing to her voice, realizing this raw, imperfect, honest voice was what he'd been searching for all along. When she finished, there was silence. Then he pressed the intercom button. "That was perfect," he said softly. Ruby frowned. "But I made mistake." "Doesn't matter," he replied. "That's what makes it beautiful." She grinned. "So now I get more food?" He laughed. "You'll get more than that." He mixed the recording that evening, adding subtle background strings, keeping her voice raw. He titled the track Buk Kagit, the Song of Hunger. When he uploaded it to his YouTube and Instagram pages, he didn't expect much. He just wrote, "A street girl sang this in exchange for food. Listen with your heart." Then he went to sleep. The next morning, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications flooded in, comments, shares, messages from across the world. "This voice broke me." Cried listening to her song. "Where is she? How can we help?" Within hours, #Ruby the Street Singer was trending. News channels picked it up. Influencers reposted it. The video crossed 2 million views in a day. When Hassan showed Ruby the video, she didn't understand the numbers, but she smiled when she saw people commenting with heart emojis and saying, "She's an angel." "People like my song?" she asked softly. "They love it," he said. She looked down. "Can I buy food for other kids now?" That line hit him harder than the success itself. While the world was calling her voice a miracle, she was still thinking about food. Within days, sponsors reached out. A local NGO offered to sponsor her education. A television channel wanted her to perform live. Hassan made sure everything went through proper consent, no exploitation, no empty promises. But fame, even the purest kind, can twist things. The first challenge came when some people accused Hassan online of using the girl for fame. "He's a producer. He must be profiting from her story," one comment said. "He's just milking sympathy." Ruby saw the comments too. "They angry?" she asked one day. "Just noise," Hassan replied. "People talk. You sing." But at night, the guilt crept in. Had he used her story, even unintentionally? He began setting up a trust in her name, ensuring all earnings from her song went to her education and welfare. Still, part of him couldn't shake the discomfort, maybe because for the first time, his success wasn't purely his. 2 weeks later, Ruby stood on stage at a charity event cleaned up, wearing a donated pink dress, her hair brushed for the first time in memory. The crowd of hundreds went silent when she began to sing. This time, her voice was steadier. Not perfect, but alive. When she finished, people stood, clapping, crying. Ruby looked toward the front row where Hassan sat. She smiled, a shy, radiant smile that melted even the hardest hearts. But backstage, while cameras flashed and journalists swarmed, Ruby suddenly froze. The lights, the noise, the shouting, it was too much. She backed away, clutching her ears. Hassan rushed over, kneeling beside her. "Hey, it's okay, you're safe." Tears rolled down her cheeks. Too many people, too loud. He held her hand. "We'll go home, okay? No more for today." She nodded, trembling. "Can we eat fries?" He smiled softly. "Of course." That night, while she ate fries in silence, Hassan realized something. He couldn't let this girl just become a viral story. She wasn't a project. She was a person, fragile, brilliant, and still broken by the streets. When he drove her back to the bridge, she hesitated. "Can I go back tomorrow?" He shook his head. "Not here. You're coming with me. I'll find you a safe place. You'll go to school." Ruby looked at him uncertainly. "You promise?" He smiled. "I promise." As they drove through the sleeping city, a quiet bond formed between them, something unspoken but unbreakable. She leaned her head against the window and whispered, "Hassan?" "Yes?" "You didn't give me food today first." He glanced at her in confusion. She grinned sleepily. "But still, you gave me life." The next morning, Ruby woke up not to the sound of traffic, not to the smell of garbage and dust, but to a small sunlit room with a neat bed, a cupboard, and a soft rug. She blinked, uncomprehending. "Good morning," Hassan said, standing by the door with a gentle smile. "Breakfast is ready." Ruby slowly sat up, looking around like a child in a dream. "Is this my home?" "For now," Hassan said softly. "We'll figure everything else soon. First, you need to eat." It was strange for her: clean floors, utensils that didn't have sticky residue, milk that didn't smell sour. She ate quietly, savoring each bite, almost afraid it might vanish. After breakfast, Hassan walked her to a nearby school that had agreed to accept her under an NGO sponsorship. The classrooms were brightly painted, walls decorated with posters of poems, songs, and alphabets. Children laughed, ran, and played in ways she had never seen up close. Ruby's fingers twitched with nervous excitement. She wanted to run, but she hesitated at the gate. Hassan knelt. "It's okay to be scared. Take one step at a time. I'll wait outside." She nodded, took a deep breath, and walked in. The first few days were hard. Reading, writing, and mathematics were strange languages to her. The other children stared at her patched dress and worn shoes. But Ruby was resilient. She remembered the hunger she had felt, the nights she had spent shivering. Schoolwork felt like a song she had to learn note by note, and like singing, she slowly found her rhythm. Meanwhile, Hassan worked tirelessly behind the scenes. He arranged for a professional tutor to help her catch up, and he connected with child welfare organizations to provide her with clothing, books, and therapy. Even as her life began to stabilize, Ruby's fame continued. Offers came from television shows, brands, and charities. But Hassan remained protective. He refused to exploit her story further. Ruby's music would shine, but her childhood, her innocence, and her safety came first. One afternoon, Hassan brought her back to the studio for another recording. Ruby had been practicing a folk lullaby of her own composition, a song about hope, about light finding its way even through the darkest alleys. She sang with a new confidence, a voice polished by care but still touched by the raw emotion of the streets. Hassan listened, tears forming in his eyes, realizing the little girl beside him was no longer just a survivor, she was an artist, a storyteller, a voice for all children like her. Months passed. Ruby's songs began to feature in charitable campaigns, social awareness programs, and local radio shows. She remained grounded, never forgetting the streets that raised her, the hunger that shaped her courage, or the kindness that changed her life. One evening, after a recording session, she and Hassan sat on a small terrace overlooking the city. The sun set in golden hues over the sea of rooftops, and the lights of the city twinkled like scattered stars. "Do you miss the streets?" Hassan asked quietly. Ruby thought for a moment. "Sometimes. The streets taught me how to survive, how to be strong, but I don't want to live there anymore." Hassan nodded. You've earned so much more than surviving. You've earned a chance to thrive. She smiled, leaning against him. Thank you for giving me life again. Hassan chuckled softly. I didn't give you life, Ruby. You had it all along. I just showed you a door. She looked at him seriously. Then, I'll make sure my life is worth it. And she did. Years later, Ruby returned to the very bridge where she had first sung for a plate of food. But this time, she wasn't alone. She brought a small van stocked with food, clean clothes, books, and blankets. Children gathered around her, eyes wide, hungry hands reaching out. Who's going to sing for food today? She asked gently. One small girl stepped forward, timid, barefoot, just like Ruby once was. Ruby smiled, kneeling beside her. You don't have to sing for food anymore, she said softly. You deserve it simply for being you. The girl's eyes filled with tears, and the circle of children around them erupted in laughter and chatter. Ruby handed out the food, helping them eat, making sure no one felt ashamed of their hunger or their dreams. Later, as she looked out over the city lights, Hassan joined her. You've changed so many lives, he said. Ruby shook her head. They changed mine too. I just paid it forward. He smiled, silent for a moment, then asked, Do you remember the first song you sang for me? How could I forget, she whispered. It was the song that gave me food and life. Hassan put his arm around her shoulder. And it still does. Every note, every voice, every story you share, it melts hearts, Ruby. She leaned her head on his shoulder, looking at the stars over the city. Then let's make sure no heart goes hungry again. And so, the street girl who once sang for a plate of food became a beacon of hope, her music echoing through lives, reminding everyone that kindness, opportunity, and love could turn even the harshest streets into places of warmth. The bridge, once a place of hunger and fear, now hummed with laughter, music, and hope, a testament to a little girl who sang her way into the hearts of many.